All right, welcome back. We are Game 3004 in the winter 2022 semester at George Brown, and it's Mobile Game Dev 2, Week 1. And it is 3D and it's mobile, yeah. So we're going to talk about that together. So let's get into this. So welcome to our course. For those of you who don't know me, this is me. I've been teaching at George Brown since 2016, and I've got a background in software engineering and game development. Favorite games are Dungeons & Dragons and Warhammer 40K. So welcome, guys. So what are we doing this semester? Well, here are our evaluations. It's kind of a different kind of course, like I mentioned before. What we're going to be doing this semester is building a mobile game as a group. So we have a couple of things we're going to do. One section is our team project, which you guys will be working on. You can see that there are several little parts, right? And you'll be starting this week. This is due, your team contract is due by the end of the week. That's Sunday at midnight. Team sizes are 4 to 6 members. I recommend 6 members, going towards 6 members. For all of you. I've created enough groups so that you can sign up and join. Please make sure you connect with people who you want to work with, okay? So there's a big part that you can see here that is a group mark compared to last semester, which was more individual. You built capability with Unity, with myself and Joss, when you're working on Mobile Game Dev 1, as well as working with Joss in Unity. So, and some of you already had some Unity experience. We're going to continue to, to work with Unity this semester and create a 3D mobile game, and we'll talk about that. Justin's asking, it's kind of like game production but with mobile, right? Absolutely. This is like your last, if you will, production course that you'll be doing that actually produces a game. It's going to be pretty serious. One thing that you're going to notice is that you are going to be required to do weekly reports every single week starting this week. And what those weekly reports are, we'll go into them in detail. Again, for those people who forgot, every single week, this is an individual submission. If you forget to submit, 0. Okay, I'm sorry. But basically what it is you submit your weekly report telling us what you're doing. Yeah, I'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, give me 1 sec here. And I'll actually hold your questions for a second and I'll get into it and then hopefully you'll be okay. Peer reviews, you'll be doing peer reviews for every major release. That means starting at your concept and game pitch. You'll be doing a kind of a release there, I believe. And there are 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, pretty good. Starting off with your project part 2. So that's what's happening. You'll be doing weekly reports and peer reviews. Those are individual marks as well as labs. So we'll have technical labs, technical demos that we'll be doing every single week. And the technical labs are pretty much straightforward. However, one of the requirements that's going to change this semester is you'll be doing a lab report along with your video. So that's what's coming up for these. So mostly 35% of your work, for the most part, starting off is individual. The rest is group work. However, a note, peer reviews will be used to adjust your project marks, which means that if you are not cooperating with your team and you don't participate, let's say that guy Tom, he's on your team and he's not participating, then what's going to end up happening is that Tom is just going to get a bad peer review. And then when Tom gets a bad peer review, his mark, when it comes to your releases, and that means every single major release, his mark will be adjusted downwards if he doesn't do his work, right? If he does his work, and everyone, I'm pretty reasonable about that, your mark will be as whatever mark you get. But for the most part, if you're someone who does not do their work or whatever, or if there's someone that you know that likes to skate and ride on the backs of other people, this semester, that's not going to happen. Just letting you know, guys, there will be peer reviews. I take them very seriously, if you know me from before. And so combine with people that you love. That's my recommendations to you, right? Make sure you get together, with the people that you love to work with, that you want to produce with. We have a lot of talented people here this semester, and I think, like every semester, and I think there's a great opportunity for you guys to produce amazing work and have a nice portfolio piece that you can end off with after this one. Okay, so that is the schedule of evaluations. Let's talk about what we're covering in this course for the most part. So we're going to start off with an intro to 3D mobile game dev, which is happening on Thursday, because again, remember, we have a very short time frame right now. We have a total of an hour when we meet on Tuesday. So Tuesdays we meet if you notice the schedule, and it's all based on, just kind of an orientation. If any lecture stuff, any theoretical stuff that I'm going to be sharing with you, that's going to be on Tuesdays. On Thursdays, we're going to do all the tech work together, right? And that's pretty much what we do. That's your lab. So the first lab, starting off, is next week. That's when we're going to start off our first tech demo. We're going to be working with Blender 3D to create some assets. We're going to learn asset creation techniques together. For those people who haven't done Blender, it's going to be a new thing. For other people, there might be people like Vincent and other people who've done Blender before, and that's awesome. So it's going to be a bit of a review for you and for pretty much straightforward marks. So that's what's happening week 2. Week 3, we have our game concept presentation. So I want to mention this for a second. You haven't done Blender, okay. But it's pretty similar to my, in fact, if anything, it's a little, I would say it's easier in some ways. But one thing to note when it comes to our game concepts and presentations in general, there are only 3 presentations in this course for the most part. So if you notice, week 3 is your first group presentation. There will be no lecture or lab specifically for that week, as we're going to be doing presentations the entire week. You're going to be introducing your game concept for what you're building for this course. And that's the first presentation. And then that's worth 5% of your final grade. There will be another presentation that's coming up week 7, so kind of a midpoint, a mid-semester checkpoint, if you will, that takes the place of your midterm exam. There are no exams in this course, okay, so that's what's going to happen. So that's the second presentation. And the third and last presentation is going to happen at the end of the course, with your final presentation, just like normal. So notice that on the presentation days, guys, no lectures, no labs. We get together and we basically do your presentation. So that's the schedule of presentations. Starting week 4, we're going to get more into more Blender, Blender to Unity, and all that kind of stuff. Building, again, capability with building assets and all that kind of stuff. We're going to be, of course, talking about mobile game dev and during the lecture portion. And then, so lab 2 will be due at the end of day on the lab on week 4. I'm going to get into the project releases in a second. We're going to be talking about AI agents, week 5, post-processing effects. We're going to revisit the mini-map that we did last semester in 2D. We'll use it in 3D. We'll do it a little differently. We'll talk about time of day systems, deploying to GitHub pages. Again, a review of what we did last time. We'll build a health system in week 6, destructible objects, in-game object selection that we'll be doing in week 6, and week 7, again, that project checkpoint, and then week 8, of course, is our mid-semester break. Just keep in mind that in week 7, you do have family day. For those people who have classes on Mondays, there won't be a class that particular week. And when we get back from break, starting on week 9, we're going to be converting our project to mobile. So the first half is basically all WebGL, prototyping, and all that kind of stuff to make your game work properly, to find the fun in your game. And in the second half, we're going to get right into producing your game for mobile. So that's where we're actually going to make your game work 3D for mobile, mobile touch, all that stuff is going to be back. You're going to be building a quest system. We're going to be working with scriptable objects for loading and saving in week 9. And again, it says your first mobile build. That'll be lab 5. Lab 6 will be including VFX graph. We'll go over that. Particle effects, 3D explosions, all that kind of stuff that we're going to be working with. Week 11 is going to be, we're going to get into mesh animation with Mixamo. Organic modeling, we might be able to use 3D Coat. I'll see how that's going to go. If we can get a temporary version of 3D Coat going to actually do some voxel sculpting, or maybe we'll do it in Blender. So that's what's happening there. We'll talk about rigging, armatures, and that kind of stuff for animation in 3D. Again, this will be complementing the stuff you'll be learning in your 3D course for Unity. So in Unity, you'll be kind of building very similar stuff on the 3D side, non-mobile. And here, all the stuff we're going to be working with is for the mobile project build. Again, week 12, we're going to talk about a weather system. We're going to convert our project to URP. We might do it earlier than that. We're going to be working with Shader Graph to create our own custom shaders. And as well as if we can script our own shaders, that'd be great. During that week, week 13, memory profile and QA testing. Week 14, project postmortem and retrospective. And week 15, the final presentation. Notice that throughout the weeks, there's also assigned and due. Please keep an eye on this every single week, as you'll see what is being assigned and when it's due. So for example, this week, Project Part 1, Team Contract, and Project Part 2 has been assigned. project part 1 at the end of the week is due. So you get together with your team to create a, and fill in your contract. And then your weekly report 1 is due. And I'll talk about what that is in a bit, just as if you've never seen it before. Okay. And notice that, again, weekly report 2, 3, 4, 5, every single week you do a weekly report. And there's going to be areas where it says peer review and so on. And I'll try and remind you guys of when this is happening. And if I've missed a peer review as an example, that's okay, because I'll add them into the schedule as you see it. But more or less, every time we do a major release, like project part 3, project part 4, project 5, 6, and so on, you'll have a peer review along with your weekly report. So let's talk about what those things are really quickly, as if you've never seen them before. By the way, all that information, all your templates and everything else, if you look on Blackboard, there's a section called Project Templates. And you can see that there's a bunch of templates that I've included here, including team contract template, external game document, peer evaluation template, as well as a weekly report template, which you should get familiar with very, very quickly if you've never seen that before. Let's take a look and see what that is. And I'm sorry for going to go so fast, but because we only have an hour, I have no choice. And I'll talk about this final project overview in a second. So lickety split. So what is this thing? So you're going to get a weekly report. You put the week in there. So example, week 1, and then you put the date, your team name, your student ID, did you attend the team meeting? Yes or no? If you didn't, talk about why. If you did, what did you do? And then if you were assigned work, and you should all be assigned work on a regular basis, then you'll put in work completed, yes. And how many hours approximately did you spend working on your project? Put that in there. 1 hour, 2 hours, 10 hours, whatever you got there. And if you didn't complete it, talk about why you didn't complete it. Every single week you're working with me, you're going to fill out one of these forms like a timesheet. Okay, exactly what it is. And this idea here is going to get you into the feel of how it works to work in a real thing. Imagine that you're working for me. We're an indie company, and all of you guys are working together to produce different aspects of a mobile game. Okay, so that's what it's going to be like. So so I think it's going to be fairly straightforward. These are worth 2% of your final grade, guys. Please don't take them lightly. They are worth quite a few marks and easy to fill out. Okay, totally easy. So at the end of your meeting, I highly recommend, whoever your producer is going to be, we'll talk about that in a second, fill out these things individually for yourself. So that's the first thing. The other thing is, don't be scared, Herman. The other thing is that the next part is your peer review. So your peer evaluation form, again, it's been simplified from the last time you've probably seen it, but let's bring that up as well. So we'll talk about that, because that is also due during different times. So again, Winter 2022, Mobile Game Dev 2, group name, project title, your name, student ID, and so on. And you kind of list your members. Please do not say me and then all the rest. Don't do that. Actually list the member names. You should know who they are. A contribution rating out of 5. Okay, that's what it is. So 0 to 5. If I see zeros or ones, to me that means that either they contributed nothing or contributed very little. That's when your mark adjustments will occur. If I see 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s, even a 2 I will question. I will talk about why they're getting a 2. If you've selected something where, first of all, talk about your contribution for that particular release. Not a weekly thing anymore, but rather, how did you do it? Maximum 5, all right? So that's how it is, out of 5, right? And when it comes to comments about other group members, again, this is to be filled out individually. It's anonymous. So, well, not anonymous, but individual, private. So when you fill this out, be dead honest. If everything is happy, you're happy, put 5s. If you're not happy with somebody, then you should be putting a 0 or a 1 or a 2, right, at the end of the day. And if it's a 0, if I see enough zeros, what I will do is for the number of zeros, I will prorate the, kind of the mark. So example, let's suppose that, I'm just going to mention some people that I'm seeing here. Herman's on my team. I've got Justin, Kiera, Liam, and Lucas. We're all on the team together. And, let's suppose they give Tom a rating of 0, right? Each of one of them. Guess what Tom is going to get at the end of that particular evaluation, right? It's not going to be great, right? So at the end of the day, it's they're going to be reduced. Now, the question is, are they going to get 0 marks? Well, it depends. If everyone says that they literally did not attend I've never seen Tom. He's told me that he's going to do work, but he hasn't done it, and blah, 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 then yeah, it could be possible that they could be 0 or get ejected for the team. So please make sure that you fill this out nicely. I will be checking it every single time, as it's really, really important. Okay. Do I want to go there? You know, do I really want to go with this level of detail in terms of teams? Well, guys, you know, I'll tell you right now, teamwork can really be great, or teamwork can really suck, right? So in terms of how we want to run this thing, we want to run it so that there's, you guys are going to create some great teams. What I'm hoping that everyone is going to be really great. I don't think you should be necessarily a snitch. Like, maybe Tam is being funny, but at the end of the day, what I'm looking for this is not to be a snitch, but rather to be honest, right? For if someone's not working on your team, for you to carry them on your back, Tam, to me is negative. All right, so that's just the way I'm thinking about it. Now you guys are in second semester, third year. You guys should be kick-ass awesome when it comes to the tools and everything else you know. That's how I see it. And at the end of the day, what I'm looking at is when you're honest, you're talking about your team, and you know, obviously you want to have people on your team that you know at this point, and the idea is that you're going to enjoy working with. So if you don't enjoy working with them, don't have them on your team. That's the answer. So if you think it's snitching, well, it is what it is. If you don't fill it out, you lose marks. So that's how it is. All right, so that's how we're going to handle the project in terms of honesty and integrity. And I'm hoping that everyone is going to be honest with their team members and actually deliver the work that they say they're going to deliver, which is what we want to do at this stage in your development. All right, so again, to keep positive, the idea here is that everyone stays on the up and up. I've also included an external game document template, which you've seen from last semester. I'm not going to go over that. As well as a team contract template, which I need you to fill out and complete for your team by the end of the week. That's Sunday, this Sunday at midnight. And that is your first assignment. If you look in the organization for the course, you can see that there's project assignments. Project assignments, you'll see a couple of them right now. One is a project part 1 team contract. And there is also a project part 2, team introduction, game concept, and GDD, which I'll go over in a second. There's also a section for weekly reports. The first one is here. I'll put additional weekly report slots inside there, so you can actually go in there. One thing I forgot to do, of course, is to attach the weekly report, which you can get inside of your files. There we go. So you'll be able to attach your weekly report inside there as well. And again, these are individual submissions that you'll have every single week from now until the end. What if we set out to do something, we don't reach our goals? Can we ask for help from you and our team? Yep, you can. Of course you can. But again, what I recommend is keep your scope low, and I mean that in the best possible way. And I'll talk about that in a second. Okay, so let's continue with the project. So now that you know under the project assignments, there is a project overview that I've shared with you to understand what kind of project you're making. Let's talk about this a little bit. So here's your final project overview. So you are tasked as a team to plan a complete, polished, and somewhat original 3D mobile game. This semester, you'll work with a team of your peers to design, develop, build, test, and demonstrate your project along with information learned throughout the process. Your group will be responsible for providing industry-accurate documentation and reviews of work throughout the process. Each member of the group will be assigned a specialty role that they are responsible for during the course of development. Specialty roles include lead software engineer. Okay, the lead software engineer should be the controller of your GitHub repository. As an example, you can use GitHub or Perforce. It's up to you. And again, there should be only one lead software engineer for the project. And this role cannot be combined with other roles. So, for example, let's suppose that, I'm just going to pick a random name here. Let's suppose that Yanev is the lead software engineer for their team, as an example. Then that's fine. Then they set up things like software or coding standards. They're also going to manage their GitHub repository. And they could be the GitHub director, as an example. And what that means is that there's a great chance that the majority of the commits that we see on their repository is theirs, because they're the people that are going to submit everyone's work on GitHub. Or you can work with a different way of doing things. You can use branches. You can use pull requests. There's a lot of different ways you can do GitHub. But the lead software engineer has got 2 votes when it comes to how the project is going to run from a coding standards and and software engineer perspective. So that's what they're going to do. A user interface and tools programmer, people who are going to be creating things like debug views, testing interfaces. There could be many more than one of these. They're going to be making regular commits to the source control system, whether it's local or if they're going to submit stuff to the lead software engineer. And really what they want to do is create things like user interfaces. If I need a user interface for a saving screen or a loading screen, if I need a user interface for an inventory system, then that's their job. Gameplay programmer is going to work with character movement and game physics, AI, and overall game feel. They'll code any movement patterns for both the player and enemies. They'll work with the lead software engineer and the game designer to create features related to player movement and physics. And they'll create enemy AI code. So they're kind of like an AI engineer in this case. And they'll make regular commits to their source control system. Generalist programmer is the most common role that you could take. Let's suppose you don't have a specific role. You could literally have just a lead software engineer, a game producer, and a game designer, and everyone else can be the rest is just generalist programmers. It's up to you how you organize your team. I'm only recommending that the 3 roles that are required are lead software engineer, game producer, and game designer. Those are the 3 that you need to have. The rest you can take for some of these and do the rest. Okay, so they kind of do various sundry duties, whatever that needs to be done. If they need to do physics programming, engine programming, AI programming, whatever subtask is required is what the generalist programmer does. Game producer, to me, always is a thankless job. And I mean that in terms of they're not the leader necessarily, but they're responsible for all Blackboard submissions, including the game design document, all presentation files, all zip archives, the repository links, video links. And again, there can only be one game producer, and this role cannot be combined with other roles. Why? Because if you have a person who's a game producer, a game designer, and a lead software engineer, well, guess what? It's their game, and that's not what we want in this course for this semester. There could be both a technical artist and an audio engineer. Again, you can either create or acquire assets for your game. Again, a creation of original assets. I'm going to do some stuff with Blender this semester and so on. So there might be an opportunity for you to create assets for your game. Obviously, it's going to look more authentic, more realistic if it's yours compared to if you download assets from somewhere else. I mean, because otherwise it'll be just someone else's assets. So if you want to use it as your own, portfolio piece, then it'd be great to create them. But if you can't, if you don't have somebody who's capable, or there's no one who's got that knack, or they're not interested, then I'm not going to hold you to it. So that means you can have a person who's dedicated to getting assets. Maybe you can combine these 2 roles because these roles are combinable. But you can have only one technical artist, and you can only have one sound engineer. You can't have more than one of these 2 roles. Okay. Again, you can combine them with other roles. They can be combined together, but they can only ever be one of each, right? Because we don't have time for that. Second thing is, or the last but not least, is the game designer. The game designer is a key role. Again, one of the key roles: lead software engineer, game producer, game designer. Those are the 3 that you need to have. They're going to be in charge of setting up the game design document, thinking about what the game is about, right? Your narrative for your game story and all that kind of stuff are the things that the game designer is going to work on. They're also going to work with the team to develop the game. So maybe the game designer has the vision, but they're not going to do it in a vacuum on their own. They're going to work with the rest of the team to kind of put the game together and document everything. Their primary tool is going to be the game design document. All right, so that is the specialty roles. The ones that are required, and I'll say this again, are game designer. I'll put them in the chat. So game designer, lead software engineer, and game producer. So you need to have those. The rest you can combine, mix and match, do whatever, but you can only have one technical artist and one audio engineer. Why is that? Because remember, everyone here in this course is a programmer. Okay? So what are you building? Your group can select from one of 3 categories of games described below. You can't just make anything you want. These are the ones you can make. You can make a platform runner shooter, 3D. Okay, remember, you're going to make this work on mobile devices, so be careful. Some kind of tower defense game, all right, or a sandbox crafting survival game. In order of difficulty, I would say that this is number 1, so easier, medium, much more difficult, okay, in terms of this. In the past, I've had submissions where a group did both of these, okay, at the end. They kind of mixed these together. They made a tower defense game, and they combine it with the sandbox crafting survival game. In order for you to do this kind of stuff, you need to meet both requirements. Both requirements, okay? So if you want to do a platform runner and a tower defense game, you need to meet both requirements, okay? It's not just one or the other, it's both if you do this kind of thing. So please stick to one. Keep your scope low. In the last year, winter 2021, I had a group of high resource people. And I mean that in terms of they were pushing themselves to do that kind of stuff. But you're not required to do that. If you're thinking about just producing a platform runner shooter game, that's good. And if you ask me to do something else other than these, the answer is no. Okay, please don't do that. All right, Gandalf says, can you answer a question from earlier in regards to UI person? The description is UI tools, but all the points are UI related. Is the UI person still responsible for tools such as anim tools and make? Yes, the answer is yes, Gandalf. Each game will include the following common requirements. You must decide on a character/camera controller. You can choose from first person or third person perspective. Okay, so again, there's no 2D game here for this semester. 2D games will not be accepted. Just letting you know. Inventory system. This must be included for all games. All games will include an inventory system. All games will have a health system. All games must include a mini-map that you can toggle on and off. All games will include enemy AI, right? That include an AI sensing suite, all right? Again, line of sight, sensing radius, and so on. Pathfinding must be available. You're going to be using all the simple steering behaviors or maybe more complex steering behaviors for your game. Pausing, saving, and loading is required for your game. So you got to figure out how to do that. We're going to use scriptable objects, most likely, and player preferences for this from a 3D perspective, 3D mobile perspective. Sound effects and music, you'll be using that for your main menu, options, gameplay, game over screen. You must include at least 3 music tracks, one for your menu, one for your gameplay screen, and one for your game over screen. Okay? So those are common requirements that all games will be required to produce. All right? You'll have all these features. Specific features for your game. Again, do I expect you to do all this for next week? Hell no. All you're doing is hey, this is who we are. This is what we're planning to do. That's all. For week 3 I'm talking about. So for your platform runner shooter, you need to have at least 3 types of platforms. Static, moving ramps, elastic, spinning, swinging, whatever, similar to what we did last semester, but in 3D. Long falls should definitely kill the player. Okay, so that's something that should be something that you're going to do. Can you steal my code from past repos? Sure, if it helps. Hazards. You need to create at least 3 types of hazards. They're different than platforms. Okay, so again, spike pit, a collapsing platform, time flames, whatever. So 3 hazards and 3 platforms. So that's 6 different things here. Your game should also have at least a goal to go to, some place that you're going to go. This could be a door, elevation, tunnel, chest, or non-player character that you got to save. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. So again, it sounds like there's not a lot to do here, but I'm telling you, to do this all in 3D and especially to produce this for mobile can be a monumental task if you don't have the right team, right? So this is the lowest level of what I'm looking for, this level right here. Okay, the lowest level is the platform runner shooter. Level 2, complexity-wise, right, is isometric tower defense game. Again, you will include resource gathering. The player will start with an amount of in-game currency or resources that may be used to build or purchase towers. At least 3 different resources will be available on the map: wood, stone, electricity, gunpowder, metal, something that you're going to be collecting. Tower types, at least 3 tower types, at least 3 enemy loadout variations. So again, a much more complex, way more challenging thing to build for the end of semester. Finally, in my opinion, the most difficult, but some people may claim that this one is more difficult, the tower defense game. I think this is more difficult to get it right. A single theme biome, a small sandbox of 64 voxels or per unit square, recommended. The level must be procedurally generated and viable, which is the big one. How do I make it work? It must include a day-night cycle or countdown. Enemies come out at night. They seek the player. They are destroyed during the day. Destructible environment must also be included. At least 3 types of tiles, voxels, example, rock, dirt, grass. It's kind of a mix between Minecraft and a zombie destruction game. It's up to you, but it's got to be all your own code for this one. All right. So that is what you're building for this semester. It sounds like it's not a lot, but I'm telling you, if you work with your team to produce something that's really great, it can be very challenging to produce one of these 3 types of games. Okay, before I continue, and again, we're sitting at 5:35, so I'm timing out very soon. Questions around, you can come on the mic too, questions around any one of these types of games.
What's the question?
Yeah.
So let's say we completely exceed expectations, right? And make a great game this semester, right?
Awesome.
Because this is a production, right? How would we go about it? Yeah, piece it, get funding with
well, you can use it for any course you want. You can use it for the idea here. The original idea, Yaniv, was that your game engines course that you're doing with Nick, if I'm not wrong, you were saying, Vincent was saying was you're doing with Nick Falzetta, is supposed to give you capabilities to build this course. That's what it's supposed to be, right? We're not there yet in terms of how it's working. Next time, a year from now, Alex and I have plans to modify that. That's how it's supposed to be, right? Absolutely.
Okay, and one more follow up on that. So like, because I know there are some students here who can already like probably make more.
Yeah, but you can't work on your own.
Like,
so yeah, go on.
Yeah. So how do I say this? What are you going to do? Like if like one of you is succeeding, let's and can you help us other than like teaching in terms of like actually pushing Steam, maybe advertising like
well, that's not the scope of this course, right? The scope of this course is to basically, you can do it if you want, but it's not within my scope to tell you what to do. You can certainly put it on itch.io. I highly recommend that by the end of semester, like you've done with Josh. I think that's a great thing to do. I know that they're going to be running kind of a game jam for most likely for your game engines class. That's what's probably going to happen there. So there are some things you can kind of cross-pollinate. Like you're going to make some stuff perhaps in game engines class with Nick, and you can pull them into our course, right? So to make it easier for you to do stuff. So again, it's very, very different. And there isn't a thesis. Again, this isn't a production course, but this is an opportunity for you to produce a portfolio piece. And that's why we're doing it. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. It's working in a group again, and what you're going to be doing is producing it for mobile, a mobile 3D game. All right, so that is the types of games you can make, and I'll take questions again at the end for those people who need to. Let's move on to what you're going to be building for next week. So this is the game, and I want you guys to combine in nice groups, and I mean that the groups are found. I've created groups for you, so I've created again 20 groups. Hopefully you have a chance. It looks like none of you have joined any kind of groups yet, but please take a moment as soon as possible to join a group. There are project groups from project group 1 to 20. Okay, again, things that are not allowed, just to make sure that you guys are clear. No group sizes less than 4. No group sizes greater than 7. Let's say 6. Sorry, 6. So 4 to 6 is the nice sweet range you're going to work on. So if you ask me for a group size of 7, I'll say no. If you ask me for a group size less than 4, I'll say no. Okay, you can't work on your own. All right, so that's how it's going to be in terms of the groups. My hope is that you've been working with people the entire time here at George Brown. You know who you like to work with. You know at this point, for the most part, what their capabilities are, and you also know who you don't want to work with, right? So here's something. What about if I get someone who's missing a group or whatever? Guys, I'm going to ask you guys to take a person on, because everybody at the end of this week must be part of the team. and everybody at the end of this week has to have a role, right? Because that's the the way we're going to do it. And Tam says I have like um, some people have like 2 years of Unity. That's awesome. If you guys have 2 years already, Chris, that's fantastic. And if some of you guys have 6 or more, that's excellent. You're going to build fantastic games this semester, and that's what I'm hoping that you're going to do. All right, so that's really the overview of what we're doing this week. Again, what we're going to do on Thursday is talk about Agile, and what I want to know is who's working with whom. So on Thursday when we meet, again, we have 2 meetings, one at 8 o'clock for section 400, and one at 4 o'clock for section 401. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work with you guys during both of those things to make sure everyone's got someone to work with. And we're also going to be talking about, I'm going to do an Agile project management review, which I've put here in this PowerPoint for you. But I've kind of defined the project for you. So one of the things, there's a couple of outputs. One, by the end of the week, you should have your weekly report done. You've met with your team, you've combined with somebody, you've done all that kind of stuff, right? By the end of the week, you should have your team contract filled out by Sunday and submitted. And you should be starting to work on your game concept and pitch presentation that's due week 3. Week 2, we start working on Blender and start to to kind of do some of those things, so 3D production. And then we'll be incorporating that or moving that into Unity, so Blender to Unity kind of workflow. We'll be using Blender 3.0. And now this is something that I want to also mention for this semester. The version of Unity you'll be using for this semester, no exceptions, is 2021.2.7F1. That's the one you need to download and install. Please make sure that it's installed with everything that you need to make that run. So in other words, let's suppose you're using Unity Hub version 3, which is what I'm using. Then 2021.2.7F1 is the version that you're going to use. If you look at the installs for Unity, you're going to notice also that from an installation perspective, I have Android SDK and NDK tools, OpenJDK. I've included iOS support because I'm also doing stuff with iOS this semester. There'll be a WebGL build support is what you need, and at least Windows build support as well. Okay, those are the 3 that you need: WebGL, Windows build, and your Android build support. Okay, so those are the things that we're going to be talking about. Okay, again, this version, 2021.2.7F1. If for whatever reason that is not available, please get it from the archive, and you should know where you can get that right now. Okay, so can you use Pro Builder instead of or in conjunction with Blender? That's on you. I don't care how you get your assets. Yannick, if you think Pro Builder is easier, then you use Pro Builder. At the end of the day, you're managing your project the way you want to manage it. Right? For me, I'm going to show you some tools. We're going to be talking about how to put things together, and I'll be guiding people that need help to get things through. But every week there'll be a lab, a tech demo that you'll have to, for the most part, have to supply. Yeah. Yes, we're definitely going to do Mixamo because for you guys to do organic modeling from scratch, that could be a whole semester, right? Because otherwise, now again, what you could do is you could certainly find a character model from somewhere else, upload it to Mixamo, right? Have Mixamo rig it for you, create an armature for you, and then animate it. That's totally fine. But at the end of the day, how you set up your character models and everything else for this semester is totally up to you. Okay, so that's something we're going to be working on. So let's suppose, going back to install, let's suppose I install an editor and notice that it says 2021.2.7F1. That's cool. And let's suppose this isn't available anymore. If you go to the archive, like we've talked about before, the download archive should have all the latest releases of Unity for those people who don't know or don't remember. And look, this was released December 16th. I'm totally envisioning another release of Unity 2021.2 soon. We're not moving to that release. Whatever this release is, 2021.2.27, is the one we're sticking with for the remainder of semester. Okay, just letting you know. All right. Any questions at all around the stuff that we're doing this semester? I'm really excited to see what you have to do. I think there's enough challenge for you guys for this semester to produce an awesome game. Remember, keep it simple. Keep it straightforward. Do we need to submit weekly labs for this semester? It's a weekly report and labs when it says a lab. So notice, Nagar, when you see a lab, which is due, lab 1. So lab 1 will be next week. That's the first lab. But every week is going to be a weekly report starting this week. Okay. The required downloads for Unity are 2021. That's the editor version, 2021-2.7F1. And the modules you need are Android, WebGL, and Windows. Those are the minimum that you got. Okay? Any other questions before we end for the day? I know it's a really quick meeting. And imagine if we were going to actually do this in person, I would say hi, bye, and then we'd be done. No Windows Server, please. Windows build support, yes, but no Windows Server. That's not required. Any other questions before we go? Andy says, will there be a Discord for this class? No Discord this semester. Yes, go ahead. Can we have installs on different drives? I'm not sure what you want to do by that, okay? And how to do that. Why would you want to do installs on different drives? Did something happen? Why no Discord? Yeah, there's no Discord this semester because I've been asked not to do it. So that's why. Oh, I see. Yeah, you can do different things for sure, if that's what you mean. Absolutely. You can do different installs on different drives for sure, 100%. Absolutely. You can keep all your old Unity versions. I'm not telling you to uninstall stuff. I don't care how you manage your machine. I'm not sure what the other profs are doing. I can only tell you what I've been asked to do. Okay. You go to your hub installs. This? What do you mean? So if you go install editor, then you're going to install 2021.27F1. Onto a new drive. Okay, I see. Let's do it together. Sure. So let's suppose I want to install this long-term support version. If I click install, right, then the thing is, by default, this is going to go in the default installation section. But if you go to, if I'm not wrong, to your preferences, and you can see where your projects are being, the project location, and you can also specify where you want to install stuff. There's your install location. So every time you install stuff, you can install it wherever you like. You can also install a standalone version instead of using hubs, right? So you don't have to use Unity Hub. You can actually go to your, if I go to install editor and I go to the archive right here and go to download archive, notice where it says on the website here, this one, I think Harrison's shared it already, where it says, I want to load it on Unity Hub, or I can also download Windows, Mac, or Linux. I can go right here and download it by itself with nothing to do with Unity at all. So you can put it wherever you want. Okay. All right. Any other questions? I know it is unusual. I'm so sorry, Justin. It's the way this thing is set up.
Yeah. One question.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry about that.
Minimum number of members?
4.
5?
Minimum 4. Yeah.
Minimum 4?
Minimum 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry about that. Any other questions related to the course? And then I'll take other questions. Thanks a lot, Justin.
Will you be checking up on us around midterms?
That's why we have a checkpoint. We have a project checkpoint presentation right around week 7, right? So that's why we're doing it. And like I said, we're going to get together and you guys are going to submit stuff. We're going to check stuff out throughout, right? So that's the idea behind it, right? So you're going to submit weekly reports every week. You're going to submit labs when I ask you to submit labs. And then there are going to be some peer reviews when I ask you to submit peer reviews. And then at midpoint, there's going to be 3 presentations, like I said, Yaniv, 1 at week 3, 1 week 7, and 1 week 15. Yeah, it shouldn't be that difficult to manage. I'm looking forward to your stuff too, to be honest. All right. Any other questions before we get off? I'm going to stop recording this on YouTube now. This is being recorded, by the way, for those people who missed today's class for whatever reason. All right, I'm going to stop recording now, and I'll take questions that are not related to the course or extraneous to the course. Okay?
You asked one more time if it was WebGL, and all build support for Windows, Android, and WebGL, right? Because I'm
Correct.
going through those right now.
Yeah, that's correct.
Got it.
All right, Tam, is that a question you have related to the course, or it's something else?
I'll just type it. I typed it earlier, but I think it was lost.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Is there like
That's, you talk to Alex about that. That's not in my dimension. You talk to him. If he's good with it, then we'll have another conversation, another meeting outside of this meeting.
I think I'll just
Yeah. Okay. All right, I'm going to stop this now. Thank you for that. So let's stop the stuff on YouTube, and then I'll take other extraneous questions.